Hey, what's up y'all? Welcome back to my channel. I thought it might be fun today to take a look inside my knitting bag and see what I carry around with me. Every time I leave my house to go somewhere and I plan to knit, I carry this one bag and there's a lot of stuff in here. So if you want to see what's inside my knitting bag, stick around. All right, y'all, let's get into my bag. First, on the outside pockets, let's see. I have a pack of gum. I do not know when I bought this gum, but I got a pack of gum. I have an invoice from Knit Picks, but this is from October of 2019, and it's still in my bag. So I'm gonna put this over here so I know to get rid of it, because I think that stuck around long enough. An Amazon gift card, also trash. I'm sure I've used this. All right, that's all that's in the outside pockets. So let's get to the good stuff on the inside. Oh, I just found some really good stuff. I have $20 in here that I had no idea I had. So I feel rich now. And I'm just gonna, as a disclaimer, let you know, I have far too many sets of needles and I carry them around with me all of the time. So if I lost this bag or left it on the bus, that would be, I would cry. I have a loom, which I have never once used to make anything really, but I carry this around for that emergency pom-pom. I just don't really make them that much, but who knows when I'm going to need it, so it stays in my bag. And I have a ton of stitch markers. I love them because they come in tons of colors, 7 colors, and I lose stitch markers all of the time, so the more the better. I love these ones because when I need a bunch of stitch markers, I want them all to match, and this gives me that option. And also I can color code like certain parts of the whatever my project is. So right now I'm doing a cozy classic raglan. In it, Jessie Maid says, you know, put a stitch marker for the front right shoulder and the back right shoulder and the front left, etc. And I can make sure like I have, you know, red over here on the right because red is R and right starts with R, and then I can remember that's the right shoulder. And then over here I have a yellow one for left, and the way I remember that is that it's not yellow, it's lemon, and lemon and left both start with L, and these are the things that go through my brain as I'm knitting. So that's how I do it, and these stitch markers let me do that. Let's see. I also have my Notions pouch. This is a pouch that is made from a fat quarter and an old pair of pants that I never wore. And this is an old shirt of mine that I never wore. Brian made it for me, my boyfriend. I gave the fabrics to Brian just because he started learning to sew. I gave him them as scraps, and one day I went over and he had made me this pouch. So it's one of my favorite things, and it's filled with all of my Notions, which I won't go through them all, but I'll show you some of my favorites. I have this little Kitchener stitch card that tells me how to do the Kitchener stitch. It's been indispensable. I finally memorized how to do it, but I still keep this around just in case. And I no longer hate the Kitchener stitch. I used to hate it, but Allison Dykeisen, one of the owners of my local yarn store, Knit One, she walked me through how to do it, and I was doing it wrong, and I was doing it in such a manner that it was so hard to memorize. But once she walked me through it one time, I have not forgotten it. So, you know, I owe it all to her. And then what else? Scrap yarn, because you always need scrap yarn. And a little 1 or 2-inch gauge ruler, which has saved me so many times, even when I'm not doing gauge. I like to put a stitch marker when I start knitting for the day because I can very easily see my progress for like that session, and seeing progress provides me with motivation I need to keep going whenever I feel like, you know, I've been doing the same thing for God knows how long and it feels like I'm never gonna finish. Just seeing like, oh, you know, it's been 30 minutes and you've done all this, like helps me keep going. So I'll put a stitch marker and like a progress keeper so it'll stay there in that one stitch as I'm knitting. I knit up and I'll know I need 2 inches, and this has been that 2 inches because I have no idea where my little measuring tape is. No idea. Brian has a little measuring tape that matched mine, and he put his name on it. It says Brian's measuring tape because he doesn't trust me, and he shouldn't, because I'll take it and then I'll lose that one too. Let's see what else is in here that's of note. Crochet hook. I just keep this one in my bag. It's probably a little too big, but I use it when I'm doing socks because I drop my stitches all the time, and this saves the day. And that's pretty much it in there. So then I have a random cedar block. What else? I have a random yarn cozy. I don't use it very often because whenever I knit, I like to knit from the outside because I don't really like when you're pulling yarn from the inside and then you've used a lot and the yarn ball sort of collapses on itself. I hate it. So I knit from the outside, but whenever I do pull from the inside, because it happens every now and then, I like to use this because I just throw my stuff into a bag and it helps me keep it all organized, I guess. I have some yarn and I don't think I guess I could use this for waist yarn for sweaters, so maybe that's why I kept it in here. Though it's not great for that because it's not very slick yarn. It's very kind of rough wool, but it's in there. And that's it except for my needles. But before we look at my needles, I just want to remind you, if you're enjoying this video, to go ahead and hit the like button below. And if you want to see more knitting related videos, definitely hit that subscribe button and tap the little bell if you want to get notifications when new videos are posted. All right, so we got that out of the way. Let's look at the needles, which I have some pretty good cases too. We'll start with my least used needles, which are these two mini sets. I got them because I love to knit socks, but they hurt my hands, and so I don't knit socks with them. So next, I have this case that I got from Knit Picks. I am knitting the Cozy Classic Raglan, and I bought a sweater's quantity of mohair. When I purchased that, they were doing a promotion where you get a case for free. So I got the case, and I moved my CHIAOGOOs from the case that I came in and put them in here. And these are my shorter needles. I think they're 4 inches. So these ones I would use for doing like a hat. And it's the whole set of the CHIAOGOOs. I love my CHIAOGOO needles. I use these smaller 4-inch needles for hats predominantly because I also have the 5-inch, which I'll show you now. And the reason that I have both is because I wanted to be able to do hats without having to do magic loop, or at the time I didn't really want to do double pointed needles at all either. So I got the 4-inch needles so I could use them for that. But then I wanted the 5-inch needles because they're more comfortable for me to hold. And so I prefer them when I'm knitting, like say a sweater, or like if I'm doing magic loop on sleeves. I just want the longer needles so I have more like leverage. But first, I have this amazing case from Twig and Horn that's made out of felted 100% wool. I actually have this case in wool and I have it in canvas. I got this canvas one for my birthday this year from Brian, and he also bought me what's inside, which I'll show you in a second. But this one I just treated myself to last year and I loved it. And I keep my 5-inch needles in here. It's a trifold. You just kind of unfold it and open it up, and here's all the needles. I love it. It just keeps everything organized. It's beautiful. I keep the needles in here. These are the 5-inch needles, so they're just a little bit easier to hold for me. And then in these pockets, I keep the cables. The needles on the CHIAOGOO, I think they're called Red Lace Twist. I'll put the correct name in the description below. I'll actually put links for y'all just in case you are looking for needles and you want to pick them up. But the needles I love because they're really slick and smooth, and so the stitches move quickly along the needle, but they're also hollow at the larger sizes. I think maybe all the sizes, so they're really light. For instance, they come with 15. I mean, this, if it were solid, would be like substantial, but it's basically weighs no more than this smaller one is how it feels. So they're super comfortable at all the sizes, which is great. The best part though are, whoa, all these cables are tangled up. They are these red cables that are a braided steel inside of like a red kind of plastic or vinyl material. So they're super slick, but they also are very strong, very flexible, and they don't really have any memory. So when you pull them out of your case, or if they've been stuffed into your knitting bag, they kind of just go back to their shape. They don't kink up or like have some sort of twist in them that won't come out. So I've been super, super happy with these. And then inside this case are my DPNs. So the DPNs were my birthday present this year, and so was this case, which I love them both. It's exactly the same. It's just a trifold case, and then it just opens up. Looks exactly the same. And these DPNs are Nova Platina Cubics from Knitter's Pride. And what that means is they're like chrome plated, so they're also super slick. It's hard to tell, but they have a square shape to them. So there are 4 corners and they're not round. That allows them to be held a little bit easier. I just find them to be super comfortable, and I can get a better grip because there's like a flat side for me to rest my thumb on and then my other finger on the other end. And I find it super true even at the smaller sizes. they're just easy to hold on to because they provide grip, and I love them. I have them in 1s on up to, I think this is a 4. When I made my wish list, I accidentally put the larger sizes at a 5-inch needle and the smaller sizes at a 6-inch, and I prefer the 6 inches, but they're both great. So I'm super happy with all of these. And then the last thing I have in this case is one more CHIAOGOO set, and it is my sock set. So these are just sock sizes of interchangeable needles. They're super tiny. I think they go down to a 000, and they work exactly the same. They have their own cables that are the same as the other ones. They just have these super tiny little screw joins. And I use these when I'm magic looping socks, which I still use magic loop when I'm making socks for the heel and the toe. If you know how to do Judy's magic cast on and comfortably do a heel and a toe on DPNs, I want to hear it because I can't figure it out. So I use these, and I really like doing a heel and a toe like this just because it's easy, because on each side you have your decreases or increases if you're going toe up, and everything is separated and it's super simple. You decrease or increase on one end, you decrease or increase on the other, flip it and do the same. But I wouldn't mind learning how to do it all on DPNs, so tell me if you know. And that's really it. That's all I have in my knitting bag. But I was just thinking that I have mentioned my Cozy Classic Raglan multiple times, and I was going to keep it a secret because I'm going to do a series of videos walking you through my process as I'm planning and beginning knitting a sweater. Not that I think I'm like this expert sweater knitter, but I think that kind of seeing somebody else's thought process might be helpful if you're a new sweater knitter. It might just be fun to talk about sweaters if you love knitting sweaters. So I figured I would do a couple of videos, but I'm going to show you my Cozy Classic Raglan right now, just as a sneak peek. So it's not exactly ready for me to show off, but I'm going to do it anyway. It's still on the small needles because I wasn't really ready to show it off, but it's just going to be amazing. It's just your basic Raglan shaping. You start at the top and knit it down. I'm done with my increases now, so I just need to check the yoke depth to make sure that it will fit. And then I'm going to separate for the sleeves. But the whole process from me picking my colors to picking my size and doing my gauge swatches and everything, I'm going to talk about hopefully next week. So if you want to catch those videos about the sweaters, definitely don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you'll be notified when I do upload them. And if you did get some value out of this video, definitely hit the like button. Subscribing and hitting like help me to grow my channel and help me to keep making videos like this. And one more thing before I go. I'm going to take the $20 that I just found in my knitting bag and donate it. I know this was a really lighthearted video, but it's not really a very lighthearted time, so I think it's really important to kind of do my part. And one of the ways that I do that is through donation. So I'm going to leave some links below in the description for some organizations that I support, and I hope you'll consider making donations to those or to any other organizations. So thanks for hanging out with me and rifling through my bag with me. I hope you stick around, and I see you next time, and I'll see y'all later.